Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater with today's episode of Her Success Story. So we have a lot of interesting things going on in the world right now with the coronavirus and the impact on business, the shift in a lot of ways we're doing things. So I thought I'd bring together today myself and one of my key team members, Darazio. You're going to pronounce your last name because we've worked together for about 5 or more years. We've run virtual teams. Tara's business is Passion for a Pen. She's a copywriter and social media company who has supported Slater Success for over 5 years, I believe. We could talk about that in a moment. She has her own her own podcast, Let's Meet for Copy. Follow her, we'll share all Tara's links. But today what we're going to talk about is how we both do this. How I've gone from an in-person team of running a printing company to a virtual team for 12 years. How Tara has raised her 2 kids. Tara, come on, jump in, do a full introduction of yourself and give the background of where you're coming from on this.
Sure. Thanks, Ivy. Yes, Tara Darazio. I know it's a tough one when you don't hear it all the time. Been working with Slater Success for over 5 years, been doing kind of the at-home business for close to over 8 years. I worked in the corporate world, but then when we had our first son, I decided to see if I could, work from home. Writing is definitely a flexible job, and I knew that could be possible. And, didn't really plan on probably starting a business, thought I'd probably go back, but as things progressed, I realized this is really what I wanted to do so that I could be home with the kids and also bring in, income for the family and do what I've always wanted to do, which is writing. So it's been a long time that I've been in this space and have really understood what it's like to work virtually and not go into the office. So yeah, I wanted to come on and just share our best tips, our team practices, and hope that we can add some value for everyone out there that is now in a new business mindset that they probably haven't been in, at all or lately.
It's interesting. So when I went from having a production person, a bookkeeper, a receptionist, a shipper at my fingertips, if I needed something, I would pick up my papers, pick up my job bags, pass it to somebody, do that in-person communication. Here, I need to get this done. Here's this information. Granted, this is a while ago and things are much more online now as far as our documents, etc. But that communication piece took me a while to actually transition and transform into running a team virtually. And saying for myself, I had a lot of obstacles around it. I didn't know, how do I delegate? How do I check in on things? How often do I do this without seeming like I micromanage? We used to start every day with a team meeting. What do you see out there, Tara?
Right. You kind of feel a disconnect because yes, you're working with these people, but if you're just on the phone or through an email, sometimes you don't feel that same human connection. So I think video conferencing, video chats is really a big one. Getting on Zoom, getting on Skype, which is what we do with our team meetings, is really important because you're looking at someone and you're kind of getting more of that feeling of, this person, you're talking, and it's not just kind of this informal, maybe email or text or whatever it might be. So I think our first tip we might want to talk about is how we use video conferencing for our team calls, and also Slack, which is a great communication tool and organizational tool for keeping projects in check.
I think the touching of the video, and this is, I'm recording this. My company is based in New York City. I'm actually working from upstate New York at this point. Have left the city for a couple of weeks, kind of seeing, how things are. It gives me a little bit more bandwidth here that I can get some fresh air, step out, walk around, because it's so desolate. But be that as it may, today is a work day. This isn't my country bumpkin day that I would throw on that flannel shirt. So, my beginning is when you're working from home, be in work mode. be in work. It doesn't mean you have to put on your business suit, but don't put on a sweatshirt.
Right. Right. And I'm outside of Pittsburgh. So, we've always had quite a distance, and, sometimes you've been on the West Coast and we've been even in different time zone, and it's respecting that, oh, hey, it's, 6 a.m. for Ivy when she's on this call at 9 over here. So it's respecting time zones, and hey, this person might be just on their coffee and this person might be getting lunch. And yeah, I definitely agree. I like to kind of get up, feel like I'm getting ready for the day, get dressed, put a little makeup on, do my hair, come on to the call and feel that, we're at work in a different way, but you feel, that you've come into the day ready and prepared. And, yeah, it's great. You can put the sweatpants on when you're not feeling well, or if you're not doing any video calls that day and you're just writing or proofreading, you can be in those comfortable clothes. But it is great to just prepare when you're coming in, act like this is a regular meeting, going in to meet everyone, and you're ready for the day.
And we're talking about video calls. So we do our team meetings, as Tara said, via video calls. We use a platform called Zoom. Really thrilled with it. We've used it for a bunch of years. Love the clarity, love the ease. I'm not the tech person on the team, so I'm going to back the ease in technology. And then one of the first things we do, and we have our team meetings on Monday, one of the first things we do is we touch base on a human connection. As if you were walking into the office on Monday morning and you said, hey, Tara, good morning. How was your weekend? That first thing in the morning thing, that first thing in the day thing, the human connection is where and how we start our team calls. And I think it's really important. Just because we're virtual doesn't mean we're not human.
Right. And I think that also can add to the disconnect when you are working with clients that you don't see in person or know in that way. Having that little tiny personal connection at the beginning of the meeting really helps you get to know them. And, for me as a writer, and Ivy and I are collaborating on a lot of her writing material, I need to know Ivy overall as a person, as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner. It's helpful to really grasp who someone is all around, because that only makes you a better communicator in the team in general. So I love that we do that in the morning. We always share about our weekends on Monday. We pop pictures in if anything happened over the weekend that we want to share with each other. And I think that's really what's made our team very strong over the years, is because we've always asked about each other's families, and we know each other's hobbies, and we talk about movies or pop culture. And it's just a way we don't have that office environment, but we still have the connection.
So you referenced before Slack. So let's, and again, I'm not the technology expert on my team. Trust me, guys. And I proficiently use Slack. So it's one of the tools we use to stay in communication. We started using it. I'll give the backstory for a second. We started using it a few years ago because emails were becoming overwhelming for everyone. We were emailing each other things all day long. And it was like you needed a whole separate inbox to just manage the team and everybody and, everybody's projects and things moving forward. And it was brought to us by another team member who suggested it. And we said we'd give it a go. Slack has different channels. So we divided into areas. We obviously have a marketing area. We have a channel for podcasts. We have a channel, this is Ivy. I'm always all about the numbers and the money and the financial piece of the business. So we have a channel on finance, but we also have a channel that's called general. And I think that's the channel that is almost as important as all the other business channels.
Absolutely, because that's our place where we can pop in to talk about personal things. And, I'm a mom to 2 young children, so sometimes I'll have to pop in there and say, hey, Ivy, can we reschedule this? I have to get to dance, or we have soccer, or something changed. And it's our way to communicate those type of things and feel comfortable doing that. And as far as the other channels, it's a great way to organize. If you are now leading a virtual team and have never used Slack or used a communication tool like this for a virtual team, this is great because it really helps you stay organized. You can add files, photos, videos right into those respective channels and not be searching through your inbox when you are looking for something. So Slack's definitely something we suggest. And what's great about it is you can turn off notifications. So if you're done working for the day and you want to snooze your notifications and not receive them, you can, because Ivy and I were talking before this about how important boundaries are, because when you're home, you can tend to just work 24/7.
Yes, you can. And boundaries are incredibly important. Tara referenced before, there's times I'm working in different time zones because I travel enormously. Um, I can be, up at 9 o'clock, on Pacific time and throwing things in Slack because things are coming to me or I'm getting some stuff done or it's a quiet evening by myself. So I decided to just, knock some things off my to-do list. But that's midnight for people on my team who are on the East Coast. We've had people on my team in various parts of the world as well, especially in Italy and Copenhagen, London. So it's you can control being notified. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And I think it's great. I'm a night owl and so is Ivy. And sometimes we can get some things done late, which in a normal team environment, you wouldn't do that because you're not in the office at 10 p.m. But that's a great thing about virtual. If you're a night owl and someone else is, you might finish something in the night and then be able to sleep in the morning or do something later. So it's actually a benefit to having that option and not having those kind of strict 9 to 5 hours that you would normally have in an office. So I know that we like that. But in speaking of our boundaries, we want to say that taking breaks in the day is vitally important because, especially now with most people are going to have their children home with them. And I know that's something I'm very used to. And there's definitely a way to break down, okay, this is work time. I'm going to take a break and do some homeschooling with the kids, or maybe you're going to put some laundry away. But we really feel there's things you can do during those breaks to keep motivated. I always listen to podcasts when I put laundry away, when I do dishes, because I'm not doing anything else. I'm doing that task, but I can still be doing something with my brain and listening. And I know, Ivy, you do similar things.
I really do. And I think it's important. I mean, it's interesting. Your kids are young. My kids are working adults and they're hunkered down with me. We're each in a different room working this morning because everybody's working from home. So we have, 3 to 4 businesses here with just the immediate family working from the house we have upstate New York. So how do you remain productive? And this is some of the tips that I'm going to share from the past. And honestly, what we're learning in this just the last few days. When I'm working, I never have the news on. The news, there's a lot of information right now coming at us. Things are changing quickly, rapidly. Not even going to go into what one state is doing versus another, versus city, a county, or anything like that. But the point is, if you have that running in the background, you are not being productive in the task that you're doing. You want to check in, our productivity runs no more than 90 minutes. And when you go to a conference, guys, most sessions are in that 60, 75, tops 90-minute sessions, because after that, we tend to tune out. We're not as sharp. So create some tasks, put a timer on your phone, work for that period of time, get up. Please, I implore you, get up. Don't keep sitting at your desk saying, I'm going to do a 3-hour. I'm just going to hack this through for 3 hours. The longer we go, the less productive we are. Get up, get a fresh glass of water. You really, really encourage to stay hydrated. Use the ladies' room or men's room. Take a walk. Even if you're a little bit stifled right now, walk around your home, walk around the outside, get some fresh air, open a door and just put your head out. If whatever it is, clear yourself and be very clear on your calendar to come back to another component. So if it might be a project, it might be a certain amount of work you're getting done, put that timer back on and you're going to find you're going to get more done. The idea of working from home instead of being less productive can end up being more productive.
Absolutely. And you'll find inspiration in those breaks, because I know sometimes I'll be working and then when I take a break to work out or take a walk or do something with the kids, I come back with a much more clearer mind, and maybe I've heard something that's now inspired me or motivated me. So those breaks even though it might seem at the time, oh, I shouldn't be stepping away, it's probably going to be helpful later on. And now if you are working virtually and your schedule is a little more flexible, then you may be able to do things, at different hours of the day. So I think it's important to keep in communication with your team and your employer, or whoever you're now working, with and for virtually, and find out, is your schedule going to be the same? Will you be able to have a little more flexibility? How will that look? Communication is vital right now, because everyone's probably doing something they weren't prepared to do, or at least prepared to do this quickly. So it's important to stay in communication, and trying to have a little bit of a routine is great. But I think, being someone who's done this for a long time, if you don't stick to the routine exactly, that's okay too. And sometimes that can be for the best. So, right now, Ivy and I were going to do this call a little bit later. And I said, hey, you know what? My littlest is still asleep. Let's try to get this call in now. And that worked for us. So I think have a routine, but also be willing to be flexible with that routine, especially now more than ever. And I think that leads into, okay, Ivy, long-term vision. Things are a little bit weird right now. How can we keep moving forward? What should be our tips for people as they, embark on this new normal?
I referenced before, sometimes being home and being really focused, we are more productive. So that is something to be aware of. There's also, I will say, whenever you have a disrupt in the world, in business specifically, there's also an enormous amount of possibility and opportunity. But it's the people who stay in the swirl of the crisis who miss out on it, and the people who are grounded and centered who are like, oh, and you have the ability to step in. So number one, in those breaks, take a 5 or 10 minute meditation, just to quiet. Listen, if you're not a big meditator, and I'm a so-so meditator, to be very honest with you, download one of the meditation apps. There are a lot of them. Just listen to something guided for a few minutes. Listen to maybe some background music. Center yourself. Do just a few deep breaths. Stay centered. Stay open. Stay out of the swirl. Communication is vital. We need to be in communication with each other. Part of it is checking in on your family and friends. But I have spent many, many years talking about the value of relationships. And it's more than just checking in on family and friends. We build relationships in business that transcend years. Tara and I have known each other over 5 years. There's more people that I work with that I've known 5, 10, 15, 20 years and more. Are you touching base with them? Are you touching base with everybody in your referral network? In the back of the Barre to the Boardroom, my recent book, I talked about your relationship networks. And there's a lot of personal there. I ran into somebody that I used to dance with when I was a kid at a business thing. She's like, I don't know if you remember me. It's like, oh my goodness. My kids' friends' parents that we're still connected to have become, some of them, business relationships, networking groups that I've been a part of for years. Talk to people, be in touch with people.
Right. And if you can't see them in person right now, because we're practicing this social distancing, this is the time to get on Zoom or Skype or whatever you prefer and do the virtual coffees. Even if it's just your friends or family and you can't get together, it's going to be my brother's birthday. We're going to probably do virtual birthday cake. He's out of state. So there's definitely things you can do to feel connected, virtual hangouts, virtual get-togethers. You're still talking, you're still seeing one another, and it doesn't feel so lonely, because this is definitely a time you can feel a little bit lonely and a little bit disconnected. So now more than ever, important to do whatever you can to stay connected, and offer resources to anyone you can. If you know something that can help, if you see something, a lot of people have been sending me, here's a bunch of virtual field trips you can do with the kids and some things while they're home. So sharing business resources and saying, hey, did you listen to this podcast? Or here's a great book. There's a lot of offers going on right now. People are just helping people. And that's obviously a wonderful thing to see.
And in this, it's not the short term of business, it's the long term of business that you will see the success in. Because having this opportunity to touch, reconnect, stay connected with people keeps people top of mind, conversations end up going in a very interesting, meandering way that you could be talking about, you know, listen, I just canceled a trip to Morocco, and people are like, oh, I feel so bad. It's like, don't, Morocco's not going anywhere. They're like, oh my goodness, you're right. So, you know, I was in Morocco, and they start giving me this information, and it's on a personal basis, yet it was a business driven phone call or a business contact. And then as things develop, shift, and grow, and I truly believe they will, because a lot of opportunity and a lot of possibility is going to come out of this situation for business, that we're going to be then each other's go-to resource because we are recently connected. So relationships are vital. It's a great time to carve out some of that time in your day and touch people virtually.
Absolutely. So just to do a little recap, since we're probably coming up on time here, absolutely stay in communication. Video conferencing is great. Use Slack. Take breaks if you need them. Try to follow a routine, but don't worry about it if it doesn't work for each and every day. Still kind of get ready for the day, you know, whatever that is for you. If that's getting up and putting makeup on, if that's getting up and having a couple cups of coffee before you get started, whatever that is for you. I think it's a lot of personal preference here as to what makes you feel ready, you know, to get into the day. And yeah, try to watch the news, but don't let it overtake your day, because it is easy when you're home to just have it on or be listening to something in the background. And just do what you can to keep in touch and be a resource to everyone around you.
And listeners, thank you for joining us today. We welcome your tips and what's working for you. Please feel free, leave a message, leave us a note. What's working out of these tips? What have you found on yours? You have more information, connect to Slater Success and Ivy Slater on LinkedIn, Instagram, on Facebook a little bit, as well as Twitter. Let us know what's working for you. If you found this helpful, please share it forward. You know, this isn't about like the reach of the podcast. This is about helping others. You know, this is one of the most important times when you find a piece of information that has worked, a tip that has worked, share it forward, get it out there. Thanks again for joining, and feel free to subscribe. We're coming into your inbox every Monday morning.
Thanks, Ivy.
Thanks for joining us today.